Hello, 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 everyone. I'm so excited to welcome you all here for such a wonderful and exciting opportunity. I mean, I could think of no better way to spend my Sunday afternoon than with the Israeli consulate of New York, who so graciously connected us with such incredible chefs from Israel and America in collaboration with Jews of New York. So first off, let's say hello to Chef Marc Murphy. Hello, hello, hello. Such
Shalom.
a pleasure. Shalom. Uh,
Yes.
for those of you who do not know, Marc Murphy is a chef and restaurateur who's been cooking for over 30 years. He's the son of a globe-trotting diplomat who has worked in some of the most esteemed kitchens from Paris to Monte Carlo, and today obviously is one of New York's most celebrated chefs. You probably recognize him because he's a judge on Food Network's top-rated shows, Chopped and Chopped Junior, as well as he's appeared on Guy's Grocery Games, Guy's Ranch Kitchen, Beat Bobby Flay, The Today Show, Good Morning America, Rachel Ray Show, and many others. Today, his involvement in the industry moves beyond the kitchen and television. He's both a food council and board member for City Harvest, New York's largest food rescue organization, as well as he's on the leadership council for Share Our Strength and participates in their No Kid Hungry campaigns. 2012, he joined the U.S. Department of State's Diplomatic Culinary Partnership, where he took part in public diplomacy programs that engaged foreign audiences abroad, as well as those visiting the United States. He's traveled to Italy numerous times, China, and Turkey as part of the program, and today he continues that work as a chef diplomat through the Culinary Diplomacy Project, traveling to global destinations including Jordan and Belgium as a representative of American culture and cuisine. And to wrap it all off, he's also the author of Season with Authority, Confident Home Cooking, his top-selling cookbook, and in summer 2019, he launched his debut podcast, Food 360, which is hosted by Marc and produced by iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for being here, Marc.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited, and I feel like I'm on a culinary diplomacy project right now, being with the Israeli consulate, cooking Moroccan-inspired dish. It's the world comes together with food. I love it.
I love it. And then next up, everyone say hello to Adeena Sussman, the most incredible Israeli cookbook author and a dear friend. Hi, Adeena.
Hello, Mark. Hi, Jake.
For those of you who are not familiar, Adina is the author of Sababa, Fresh Sunny Flavors from My Israeli Kitchen, which was named a Best Fall 2019 cookbook by the New York Times, Bon Appetit, and Food and Wine. She's currently working on her follow-up to Sababa, which is all about the foods of Shabbat, one I'm very, very, very excited about.
Thank
In
you.
addition, you are the co-author to 12 books. Her three most recent collaborations include Cravings and Cravings Hungry for More with Chrissy Teigen, which were both New York Times bestsellers. And not only are you a lifelong visitor of Israel, but you did Aliyah, becoming a citizen in December of 2018. So now you live in Tel Aviv, where we get to see you on Instagram all the time, just going through the Carmel market with your husband Jay and cooking up a storm.
Yeah, I was there today. I mean, the market is battered but not broken, and Israel is pushing our way through this COVID pandemic. We're making progress with vaccinations and trying to look really optimistic in the new year. So it's so nice to have this be the inaugural event for me of 2020 and in my first event in my new kitchen. So thank you for having me, and thank you to the Israeli consulate for having me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this is our third and I think final episode of the season of these little Zoom classes that have been so much fun. It's the new year, so we're thinking like I don't know. I think January it's all about like clean, fresh eating. Give it a little like new start, new you. So why don't we head over to Mark and see what we're cooking?
Well, hello everybody. Well, here we are. We're going to be cooking a dish that is Moroccan-inspired. I was in Morocco. Well, when did I travel last? I mean, haven't been on a plane in a while, but but Morocco is such a beautiful country. The food is so beautiful, and of course, I was in Israel visiting Adeena as well. I guess that was about 2 years ago,
Like
and
right
there's
now, right
like
now.
right now, exactly. I was there with a great program with a bunch of chefs and some absolutely beautiful people. But so I was really thinking, and I know we wanted to make sort of so I wanted to make something that resembles a tagine, but not in a tagine, because a tagine is one of those dishes in Morocco, those sort of cone-shaped things that you put over coals. I'm in the middle of Manhattan. One, I don't have that. I got induction burners. I probably couldn't do that, and it would take way too long because it cooks very slowly. So I wanted to do a couscous dish, but sort of a quicker rendition of it. So I sort of adapted some of those recipes that I would make in a tagine, but made it more for home. And of course, we also want to celebrate because you know, the new relationship between Israel and obviously Morocco. I think that's something that's just begun. I saw something on the news the other day. The first flights are coming back and forth, which is great. I think there's a great amount of a big Jewish population in Morocco, and they're obviously a great country, and they've got a great history together. And it's so wonderful to see that. So what I'm doing is, and talking about traveling, even my olive oil, I'm a bit, because I was born in Italy, and my brother lives in Italy outside of Spoleto, in a little town called Roselli. And so when I was there visiting last time, a couple of years ago, there's an olive oil a mill that they you know, make olive oil for the whole the region. And I met this guy Massimo, and I was like, hey, do you ship this stuff to America? So now every year I put my order in. I use about, now I know I use about 150 liters of olive oil a year. So when the olio nuovo, because that's what they get all excited about in Italy, when the new olive oil has arrived, I'm sure that in Israel, you guys make a lot of olive oil as well.
Oh, yeah.
And Adeena is going to tell me how much better it is, because everybody, wherever they are, their olive oil is better than their other guy's olive oil. So
we'll have an oil off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I honestly, I love this olive oil from the Umbrian region. And so I get 150 liters shipped over. I have a few friends that are allowed to get some of it from me as well. But it's one of those amazing ingredients. You were talking about healthy. Talk about healthy. Come on, olive oil is very, very healthy. So I start my pan off with a little bit of olive oil. I've got my carrots and my onions that I've cut up, and I know we had posted the recipe before. And what I like to do is start the carrots and onions. It's going to give the pan even, and usually I would do this more in a pot, like a Le Creuset, a sort of pot, but I wanted you guys to be able to see this. So I'm doing this in a large saute pan. You can cook your onions and carrots, take them out, and then sear the chicken as well. And I'm using chicken thighs that I've cut up into 1-inch pieces. I'm not going to take it out because since I'm using a pan, I can push everything to the side, and I can put my my chicken right in the middle and get that seared up right now, which is going to get a nice flavor going on. And of course, as I'm cooking this, I do season with a little salt and pepper, just because I think that obviously helps bring out some of those flavors. So I'm going to just let that sit for a little bit while the chicken gets a little bit of color on it. And then I'm going to start adding my other ingredients. My other ingredients, which are a little bit of garlic. I've got some tomatoes. And if you don't have tomatoes, I did go and I went to Whole Foods. I looked for the prettiest tomatoes in the middle of winter. And I did get 2 tomatoes that I chopped up, and I've got them here. But you could use tomato paste. And I know that in Israel, you guys use a lot of tomato paste, Adeena, don't you? They have this.
We do. And you know, it's called dibis in Arabic or Palestinian. Dibis is like anything that's reduced. So like saba or grape must or vinegar that's reduced, or so if you buy it from a woman who makes it at home, it's called dibis. But I usually use the Muti Italian double concentrate tomato paste in the tube because it's the best, or the triple.
It is good. Yeah.
So those, and you know, it's really inexpensive here compared to the States, and just so excellent. So, but yeah, we use a lot of tomato paste as like a, you know, part of so many Sephardic and North African dishes use like a sofrito element, and that I think that tomato paste really helps like build that under flavor for sure.
It definitely gives a little bit of depth to a dish, which I love. I'm using some fresh tomato because and that's the great thing about cooking. And I know there's a lot of people watching right now is people look at recipes, and my mother used to cook like this. She probably still does, but she follows the recipes. Like, I can't make that dish. I don't have that ingredient. Well, you got to bob and weave, man. You got to be able to bob and weave. And so if you don't have tomato paste, or you don't have a tomato, use tomato paste, vice versa. The other ingredients I'm using is obviously I'm going to put some chickpeas in here, and something that is in a lot of tagines when you're in Morocco, something you sort of start getting really, really used to is preserved lemon. And I know that most people in America don't have preserved lemon, so I'm going to bring in that lemon sort of note just by putting lemon zest in while it's cooking. I'm going to do a little microplaning of that right after I put my liquid in there, just because it brings a little bit of that flavor. But you can, if you wanted, as I said, bob and weave. You could use preserved lemon if you had it. I was just trying to keep it nice and simple for this recipe. So we've got a little color on our chicken, as you can see. And then we're gonna now we can start adding the other ingredients. I'm gonna start putting the tomato in, the garlic, and I got here early so I could have all this chopped up for you, so you didn't have to watch me struggling through cutting everything up. And then it's gonna stew. It's gonna stew for about a half hour, and while that's stewing, Adeena's going to be making a dish, and I'm also going to be then making a very, very quick and simple couscous, just to have as an accompaniment to this dish. And also, while this is stewing, I'm going to do my own sort of version of a Moroccan spice. And I know I don't want to offend anybody. I know this is sort of my rendition of it, and I've already mixed it here together. It's turmeric, cayenne, cumin, cardamom, and cayenne, cumin, cardamom, cinnamon, and turmeric. So I've made my little mixture. It's usually one part of everything except the cinnamon and the cayenne. I cut that in half, and it makes this great little blend. I'm going to toss that in here as well with my chicken when I put my chicken stock in here, and it just gives this great flavor. And actually, in my cookbook, I do chickpeas that I saute and sort of fry, and then I finish them with this sort of what I call my rendition of a Moroccan spice, and it just gives this great little flavor. And of course, when I was in Morocco and when I was in Israel, these warm spices are just so rooted into that culture and Israeli culture and the Moroccan culture. So once again, being part of the culinary diplomacy project, I'm always looking at bridging different countries, different things going on. But and as Adeena, it's all through food, man. Everybody wants to do it through food. Why don't you start taking it away while my stuff starts stewing here, and then we'll come back to me. I'm
thank you.
Camera.
I could listen to you talk for a full hour, but I'm gonna go make my dish. I think it's interesting to talk about how like spices, like sourdough is so 2020, and spices are the new thing in 2021. Like all these single origin spice companies like Burlap and Barrel and Diaspora, everyone is really focusing on where the spices come from and their heritage and their uses and their authentic cuisine. So I think that, my recipe, which is for a sumac marinated grilled chicken salad, kind of does touch upon how important I think spices are right now. And also, we're still all at home. We're still trying to find ways to, transport ourselves to destinations when we can't actually travel. And I think spices are a relatively inexpensive way and a really exciting way to just put tons of flavor into food. So I'm making a little marinade here for my chicken, and I took some clementine zest. I decided to marinate this chicken in clementine juice as opposed to orange juice because I just love the sort of concentrated orangey flavor. And I don't know if you can see back here, but I have my Zachsenburg Juicer, which caused quite a stir when I first showed it when I got back to Israel. It's the juicer that's been made on the same kibbutz in Israel for generations. It was the first housewares factory in Israel. And it's the one that you see in all the juice shops in Tel Aviv. And it's the only one that can do oranges, grapefruits, and pomegranates at home. So I invested a couple of years ago in that. And I've never looked back. I use it every day because we use so much citrus in Israel all year.
Yes.
Excuse me. So this is delicious, delicious clementine juice. And because I'm at home, I'm going to take a sip. Oh my gosh, so good. We're really in the height. We're really in the height of, and what I've done here, you guys, I'm going to put the chicken in here. I fitted a Ziploc bag into a glass bowl, and it just stabilizes it. And then I can sort of add all of the ingredients to it. So I put about a tablespoon of sumac in there, and I'm going to put some salt and pepper and the clementine zest. And then one of the nice things about Israel is because it's a schnitzel culture, schnitzel being, thinly sliced chicken cutlets, you can just go to the store and get fresh, thinly sliced chicken cutlets at any butcher. So I'm going to take some scallions. I was at the shuk today. I love how in Israel the scallions have their natural tips. Like they don't look like they've been neutered like they do in the United States. So, scallions just add such a wonderful freshness to anything that they're put in. So I'm going to just take some of the greens and put them into my marinade here. And then I'm going to take the chicken and I'm going to put it right in the Ziploc bag. I try not to use Ziploc bags as much as I used to, but I find with, something like chicken, like it's the
Yeah.
perfect way to keep the kitchen clean. You could use a stasher bag if you want to do a reusable. And then also, I don't know if you can see the color of this thyme that I got this morning. It's just like the most intense, beautiful, like forest green color. It smells so
Oh,
piney, like almost like rosemary. It's so interesting. Um, and now I'm just going to take this and seal this up and smoosh it all together. And, because the chicken is so thinly cut and because the clementine juice and the zest and the time is everything is so powerful, you can marinate it for an hour, but truly after 10 minutes, you're going to get a lot of the flavor into this dish. So that is the hardest part of my dish. You could make this 8 hours in advance. You could grill the chicken and serve it cold. So it's like a very convenient and easy dish to make. And I don't know, Mark, if you're working on something else that you want to share, but I can move on to making the dressing for the salad, or we can switch back to Mark,
Well,
whatever you guys.
I wouldn't mind switching back for 1 second, just because
Sure.
now, so here you are now educating us. It's a schnitzel culture, which of course now we all know. But most importantly, this is like an advertisement to move to Tel Aviv or to somewhere over there. I mean,
produce
it's
chef.
it's mandarin seeds. Oh, the mandarins are all the juices are
Oh,
great. The
I
thyme
mean,
is beautiful. Do you want me to
it
turn my
is.
camera
It's
around? It's
January.
snowing here.
It's
I
yeah.
Snowing.
know. I feel guilty, but there's a produce here year round is just insane. Like,
You know
and
what? When I was there, I came back and I was yelling at everybody. I said, in the markets, the parsley is stacked
I
4 feet
know.
high. I said, it's
And
absolutely gorgeous. And it happens year round, because when I woke up this morning, it was snowing out my window. And I'm worried about trying to get a halfway decent tomato at Whole Foods or someplace like that. And now here you are just rubbing it in. Thank you very much for
oh,
that.
I
But now,
forgot to add a little olive oil to my marinade, by the way. I just wanted to say my better Israeli olive oil.
There you go.
Which you guys, I keep it in this, these are really handy. This is like an olive oil pitcher, and I like it because it's so hot and sunny in Tel Aviv, and the sun can really deteriorate the quality of the oil quickly. So I keep it in here, and I keep it in a cool spot in my kitchen. And also just the spout makes it all very neat and kind of dripless, and you can flip off the top here and fill in. And Mark, I wanted to show you, because I know you went there with me. This is how I get my oil in my 5-liter jerry can from Jonathan Borowitz at M25, where we all ate together. He sells me his great olive oil at check cost, and it's just wonderful, wonderful oil. So I take this and I decant it into my little pitcher, and this lasts me maybe, I don't know, a week, 10 days.
Yeah, well, that's for me too. I get my olive oil and it comes in 5-liter jugs.
Yeah.
And my wife is always like, well, how am I supposed to deal with this? I mean,
You're
so
like,
I decant all the olive oil as well. When I get 5-liter bottles, and I actually reuse like old olive oil bottles, like from other places, just to make it so it's easier, because it's just easier to have it that way. But I got to say, bar none, having good olive oil in the kitchen is just so important. And interestingly enough, I have a friend of mine who actually works in finance, but he loves to cook, and we've been doing a lot of Zoom cooking together because we have nothing else to do, and we just sit around, chat, and cook dinner together, and with another friend. And I gave him some of this olive oil, and he has a son who's interested in food, but not like, not he's in high school or whatever. And all of a sudden he called me after I gave him the olive oil the first time. He goes, my kid has never expressed anything about our kitchen or the food I cook, but this olive oil, he's absolutely going crazy for. So it is something that that people understand, and it's just something that's great. It's really wonderful. But no, so I just want to get back to my stew. My stew is stewing. I've got my chicken stock in there, my spices, my garlic, my onions, my carrots, my chicken. It's going nice and strong here. It's going to reduce down. We got probably another 10 minutes on this. But just to go through, I'm going to go through my technique for the couscous. And I know that not everybody makes their couscous like this, but I find it to be the simplest and the easiest thing to do. You take your couscous. I've got about 1.5 cups of couscous here. I'm going to put my seasoning in. I'm going to season with salt and pepper. And I'm also going to season with a little bit of turmeric. And I think turmeric is one of those things. I just like it in couscous. It gives it a beautiful color. And everybody says it's good anti-inflammatory as well or something like that. And it's got a nice little, gives it a little flavor on there. And then I'm going to put my beautiful olive oil in here, and a fair amount of it, right? So what I want to do is I want that olive oil to coat all of my little pearls of couscous in here.
So
and
that's
then,
like a Julia Child little, like a half a cup.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, you want it to be like you're at the beach. It's like sandy, right? You want it to be wet. But so you got your salt and pepper. I got my turmeric in there, my olive oil right there. You can already smell it. And what I'm going to do is I take my chicken stock. I've got 2 cups of chicken stock. I pour it in here and I stir it around a little bit. And then I have to bring this over here because it's so you guys can see it. I know this is like saran wrap for restaurants, but you just take a piece of saran wrap and you cover it and you let it sit for like 10 minutes and it'll just steam. This is the quick couscous. It's not the one you're going to have to cook for a long time. And it's just, for me, it just turns out great. And right when I'm done in about 10 minutes now, I'll uncover it. I'm going to put in some, because I was thinking of your markets, of course, in Israel, as you were just mentioning, all that fresh stuff. I've got some fresh mint from Fairway and some fresh parsley from Fairway.
Rest in peace.
And then I've also got some toasted slivered almonds. Some people like to put raisins or apricots in their couscous. I didn't, just because you can add if you want. I just did. I don't always do it, and I don't know. I just didn't do it this time. But yeah, you could like soak some. You could put some apricots in here or some raisins as well to give it a little bit of different dimension, some sweetness. But that's pretty much that. So I'm going to put all this together in a little bit. So Adeena, back to you.
Love it.
Thank you. All right. First of all, before we move on, I just want you all to know that Jake's book, his first cookbook, is coming out on March 9th. I have seen it with my own eyes. It is amazing. And I really commend you, Jake, for like the job that you did on the book. You guys, everyone needs to pre-order it. I'm not just saying that because Jake is a friend of mine. I wrote about the book already.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you. And thank you for all that you're doing to share our traditions with the younger generation. And, you know, it's really important what you're doing and really special. So thank you from me to you.
But you guys, first, more about you, because this is one of my favorite recipes from Sababa. I want to know, past the fact that like Mark and I are in this gloomy New York weather, looking at you showing off your haul from the market. Tell us a little bit about like your experience with Aliyah and how that affected your cooking.
So I say that I moved to Israel for love and I stayed for the shuk. I met my husband Jay about 6.5 years ago, and he was living here already. And I had a long history with Israel, but had never pulled the trigger to live here as a full-grown adult. I lived here after college for 4 years and moved back to New York. But, you know, I had been writing about Israeli food and wine for a long time. I had been really transfixed by the culinary culture here and watching it grow from, you know, hummus, shawarma, and falafel to this global fusion cuisine that incorporated incredible techniques and all the amazing ingredients that Israelis realized they had right under their noses, from olive oil and cheeses, and of course the produce. It just all came together at a time when my culinary career was really sort of progressing. And I was able to really make Aliyah and have my klita, or absorption into Israeli culture, be about how I saw Israel through the lens of food through an American living in Israel. And that was kind of the inspiration for Sababa. And, you know, as Mark said, food is the great communicator, and it opened so many doors for me here. I made such incredible friends in Israel in the food community. Obviously, if you've seen Sababa, it's all about my buddies in the market, you know, the old guys who sell me all the stuff. And it really was a privilege for me to document the shuk at a time when it may be changing. I mean, this was even before Corona, and seeing how many businesses are closing in the shuk because of COVID makes me realize that how happy I am that I've told the stories of these vendors, many of whom were second and third generation in the shuk. So it's been a really exciting experience for me to share what I love about Israeli food with people. And obviously also, Israel can be sometimes a controversial place, politics, religion, geopolitics. I really like to focus on what brings Israelis together and what we can share with the world, which is food. And it is exciting to see all of the incredible things that are going on around the world with peace and with different countries and the developing of relations. I'm hoping we can do some more work on that internally as well, but it's really been very exciting. And so, the sumac that I'm using in this dressing as well, like really is, I'm reinforcing what I did in the marinade and the dressing by adding a little bit of sumac to the dressing.
Obsessed with sumac.
You really are like the ultimate sumac, and you're the sumac ambassador. You put sumac on everything.
Everything. Hold on, quickly. Your camera is starting to dip.
I got mine.
You're starting to lose your head.
Jay, can you tilt me back up a little? Yeah, we're sorry about that. Okay, better?
Perfect.
Yeah. So just you guys, a little trick. I've already started doing what's called supreming or peeling these oranges that I'm going to cut into rounds. But I don't like to waste anything. So these rinds that I've taken off, I'm using that to squeeze into my salad dressing. That's like sort of no waste 101, a great way to save things. So this salad calls for clementines, oranges, and grapefruits, and you could use any combination of those things in the salad dressing. I put my sumac in the dressing already. I'm gonna add some olive oil here because I like my dressings really tart. I don't add honey or sweetener, but you absolutely could if you wanted to. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I squeeze the citrus straight into the jar because I make like 99% of my salad dressings right in a jar that I just shake up.
The best.
Yeah, I find whisking to be a great wrist strengthener, but I don't need to wash that many dishes. So now I have this great dressing here, and obviously sumac is a tart berry that can replace acidic or tart things in recipes or reinforce that element in cooking. Now sumacs can vary in their tartness and strength based upon how old they are, how fresh they are. So you really want to just add I would start with a little bit less because it can be a kind of a dominant flavor, and then I'm going to just shake my dressing right here in the jar. And it's got nice pink flecks in it. It's going to tell me that there's citrus and sumac in the marinade as well. And that's ready to go. Basically all I need to do now is grill the chicken and assemble the salad. So I'll show you quickly how to do this from the start to finish. You take a grapefruit or an orange, cut off the top and the bottom so you have like a flat surface, super simple. And then you just cut around really simply. You're trying to cut away all of the pith, the white part, and leave as much of the flesh as possible. And just remember that you control the citrus and it doesn't control you. So don't be too ginger with it and try not too hard not to cut. It's better to do it all in one fell swoop than to have to keep going back and carving like a million times. So now that I have this beautiful orb here, I can just take it and slice it into these gorgeous discs. And these are what's going to go into my salad with the grilled chicken along with the oranges and the clementines. So there you go. Yeah.
I'm getting hungry. Over here.
You think you're getting hungry? I'm the one who wants to watch both.
Luckily, Jay will be. This will be his Sunday night football dinner. So I'm happy that I have someone to share all my food with. My wonderful husband who supports me in all of my culinary and other endeavors, and so it's really fun to have a taste tester and someone to share it all with here. So, and I'm going to use a cast iron pan today because I love grilling in cast iron. Actually, I like the even brownness that it develops. A little bit less burning sometimes than using a grill pan. And this is not a shameless plug, but this is like the $30 Chrissy Teigen pan that is like the best cast iron skillet that I've ever used. It's super easy to clean. It's pre-seasoned. It's 14 inches, so it holds a ton. It's available at Target, and it's like the best. Seriously, guys, get it if you can.
Is that what you use for my latkes for your Hanukkah party?
Yes, I use it for my latkes, Jakey. I did. And yeah, so my chicken is ready to grill. And Mark, I don't know if you have something to do, but I can just show people quickly how I lay this in the skillet.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay. So these are when you quick flash marinate thin cut chicken, You can sort of tell that the marinade has done its job if it had acid in it, because it does turn a teeny tiny bit kind of white, you know? Like you don't want it to be white all the way through. That would mean that it kind of like cooked on its own. But I do see that this marinade like had an impact here. So I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil, not a lot, because the marinade has oil in it. And sometimes I use like a silicone pastry brush to kind of like brush the oil around in the pan, because I don't want to burn my hands tilting the pan and I don't even want to touch it. And then I'm going to just take the chicken, I'm going to put it in. That's the sound you want to hear, like a wonderful kind of a sizzling. And I'm going to just leave it on a pretty high heat to kind of sear and develop a little bit of golden color on the bottom. Because they're thin and cooking at a high heat, probably no more than 2 to 3 minutes per side maximum. But you know, it's really important when you're cooking to try not to move things. I mean, I think I probably learned this from Marc Murphy at some point in my early cooking career. It's like, Chrissy calls it DFWI, don't F with it. Don't touch your proteins, don't move them, don't flip them too much, don't do too much to them, just kind of leave them in one place. So I'm gonna just do 4 for the sake of this, but you could do them in batches if you wanted to. And probably in another minute already, I'm gonna check this. And you know, there's something that's called presentation side, which we learn in culinary school. Like you might wanna leave it on one side longer than the other to develop that brownness, because when you put it on top of the salad, you can always cook it less on the other side, but you wanna make sure that one side has that gorgeous golden color. So I'm gonna let this be my presentation side and just cook it a little bit longer.
Love it.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to season in the pan with salt and pepper, which is another thing that I always do because I'm so lazy.
Love it.
Well, you know,
Also very lazy.
Keep the mess in one area. It makes a lot of sense. You know,
Exactly.
for everybody who you were just talking to, and I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, but you did mention burlap and barrel, which I have their whole collection right here. Something that's very important, I think everybody needs to remember, is when you're talking about spices, when you're talking about all these different spice things, you have to remember that you can't keep them above the stove and let them dry out. They lose their flavor, they lose their color. Do not have them above the stove. Have them somewhere cool, best probably in a drawer. But if you're talking about burlap and barrel, the sumac that they're doing, this
amazing.
I have the giant one.
You have the giant one. You use it a lot as well. But I have to tell you that when you know, you always hear about things and you're like, you know, it's another fad. When I ordered the sumac from Burlap and Barrel and I opened up the jar and I put my nose in it, I was sold. I was like, this is probably the best sumac I've ever. And by the way, having been in Israel, having been in Morocco, all around the Middle East, where there's a lot of different sumacs. But I got to tell you, I mean, this is not a commercial for them because I'm not involved with them besides using their product. It is amazing. So yeah, definitely. I think you nail on the head there. If you guys are looking for good sumac, gosh, just go on their website and order it. It's really good.
I think, Mark, wouldn't you say that like sometimes the myth of buying spices in an exotic location doesn't live up to the hype? Like sometimes they're sitting in the market for a long time. It could be really hot. It could have been humid there for a long time. You don't always necessarily know unless you really have a reputable source. So sometimes it's great to enjoy the spice market, to be inspired by what you see, and definitely to buy some, but like it's really okay. You know, most of the spices in Morocco and Israel are imported from international locations.
Yeah.
It's not like all the sumac berries are grown in Israel. So, you know, it's about enjoying the culture and supporting the merchants and buying a few gifts. But for your home, you know, it's good to mix it up and try different brands and find the ones that, you know, that work for you the best.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I was in Jordan a while ago, and you see these big piles, and I'm like, well, how can all that stay good all the time, right? You do see that sometimes in the markets. You're like, well, this doesn't sit out a little while, I got to say. But yeah,
a lot of it's good, but you know,
it is good.
You never know. But you never know.
Right. So that's on that front. I wanted to just point that out because their sumac is just so fantastic. I'm gonna start finishing up my dish. Is that okay with you, Adeena? Can I hop in?
Would love that.
Yeah, go for it. All
right. So my couscous has been sitting for about 10 minutes while we were sitting here chatting, and you'll be able to see. Well, I'll try to let you see closer. It's fluffed up. Can you see that? I guess a little bit. It's nice and yellow from the turmeric. So now I'm going to take my fork and just fluff it. And now I'm going to start adding in my mint. I'm going to add in my parsley. Look at that. And then I'm going to and then I'm just going to garnish everything. You can mix in your almonds if you want, but or you can just put it on top and garnish it. But look how quickly that made this couscous. I mean, you obviously can't taste it, but look at the fluffiness, and now you got all those herbs in there that are blooming. I love this. And so I'm going to plate one very simply. Put a little bit of couscous in the middle of my plate, and then I'm going to spoon my chicken and all the sauce all the way around it. And it's, what you want is some of that juice there, because the couscous is going to help absorb it. I guess I'm going to have to take a picture and put it on the Instagram when I'm done here, huh? Always. Exactly. And I also want to I want to talk to people a little bit about like this recipe, or any recipe really. You want to make sure that you can do whatever you want, really. I mean, you're in control. Like, for example, I'm looking at this dish right now. If I had some olives in the fridge and I was cooking at home, I would have probably thrown a couple olives in here. So, I mean, you can go whichever way you want with certain foods. And if you have a couscous, you see a recipe, it's like, oh yeah, but I have these olives and I think they would go well in there. Well, do it. Get into it, kids. All right, now I got my almonds. I'm just going to garnish on the top, and voila. I mean, I'm very excited about my lunch.
Easy and looks amazing.
Wow. I'm reaching. I'll take a picture, and I'll hopefully I'll do it correctly and put it on the Instagram properly, and the Facebook and all the other things.
I love it. How is Celebrity Chef Birthright when you went to Israel a few years ago? Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, Herb Karlitz, who put this trip together, we did the Celebrity Chef Birthright trip. I think there was about 28 of us. I got to go with some legends in the industry, with Jonathan Waxman, with Ruth Reichel, with Nancy Silverton, with Gail Sentman. We were just a great group of people, for one, and we were in a great country. And just Herb has put this trip together, and we were there. What were we there? 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 days? I don't know. We should have stayed a month, but we did so much. We got to see so many things, and we got to go from wineries to farms to it was restaurants. There's a lot of highlights. One was obviously Adeena, when we went to your house, which was beautiful. You opened up your home to all of us, which was very generous since there was so many of us. But, and I'm not going to remember, but you're going to remember, Adeena. There was this chocolatier, this person who makes chocolates, that made these little langue de chat, these little tiny, with a little bit of tahini in the middle. It was the thinnest piece of dark chocolate with a thin layer of tahini in the middle of it. Oh, who was that? I got to get some of that. Do they ship to America?
Ika, IKA.
Okay.
Not currently, but when I come home in a couple of months, I'm going to bring you a special delivery package. Her chocolates are world class, and there is a real maker and artisan movement here in food. They're everything you want. You could find locally made with local ingredients. It's truly amazing.
It's really beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Yeah. But yeah, so I can't give you one highlight. There was just too many of them. It was just it was a wonderful trip. And it was the second time I had been in Israel. I was in Israel when I was younger. My father was an American diplomat, and we traveled a lot. And I remember when I was maybe 10 or 12, we went there to visit his counterpart, the consul general of Greece, who they were friends with, and something. We went there, but a very different experience going back with just the food focus. I have to say that, I mean, food tourism is something that is happening all over the world, but when people were asking me when I came back from that trip, like sous chefs or cooks that were working for me, and they said, I really should get out and go see things. I said, if you're going to go to one place, you go to Israel, because it is such a, how do I say, it's a melting pot of so many different cuisines and so many different influences. And as Adeena was saying earlier, you see it all there. You just see it all, and you see all these great influences from all these different cultures. You're smack in the middle of it over there. I'm jealous of all the citrus you got right now, but also of all the cultural different foods you get to go out and have every day.
I mean, we get to experience Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, Muslim holidays. There are Eritrean and Sudanese people working in Israel, people from all over the world. So there's, in addition to the sort of quote unquote local cultures, there's a thriving, I can get Asian ingredients here much more easily than New York. A 2-minute walk from my house, I can get galangal and lemongrass and green papayas and everything that I need to make, everything I need to make a Thai meal, which is really fun and interesting. And it's a country of 9 million people, and there are immigrants from more than 100 different places living here. So imagine just the cauldron of different things going on culturally that end up on the plate, and it's always changing. It's very interesting to document and to witness and to be inspired by. So I was so happy that you came, and you guys, for Marc to say, Marc is like one of the most humble chefs, but truly one of the most talented and sophisticated. He speaks multiple languages. He's lived all over the world. He's so knowledgeable, and for him to say that Israel is the place to go, like to me, I'm like, that gives me goosebumps. So thank you.
It's absolutely true. And I love it there. Love it there. Can't wait to go back.
Good. Well, we can't wait to have you. So I can finish off my dish now if we have, okay. So,
yes.
All right, you guys. So avocados. So in America, we basically know one kind of avocados. We're a Hass country over there. Everything is imported from Mexico, the bumpy skin. Israel has another kind, the Edinger, which is like a smooth-skinned avocado that I've actually really grown to love. And you prepare it a little bit differently. You actually use a peeler because the skin is super thin, and you peel off the skin of the avocado as opposed to trying to scoop it out because it doesn't separate from the flesh so easily. So what I do with these beautiful Ettingers, which it's a cultivar that was brought from Guatemala to Israel, I think in the 1940s, and it allows Israel to have longer avocado seasons, and they're hardier than Hass avocados, which don't always grow perfectly in Israeli culture and have a shorter season. So now that I have my peeled Ettinger, I just take my knife and treat it similar to a Hass. This one's beautiful and ripe. It has a gorgeous kind of like light minty exterior. These are slightly less oily than Hass avocados, rich, but they have beautiful fresh flavor, which I absolutely love in salads and in sandwiches. So Jake, you could make an incredible avocado toast for TikTok out of this.
Probably.
But what I do is I'm just chopping it up, and I'm going to scatter some beautiful ripe avocado on top of my salad. As you can see, I've put all the different citrus on top of some greens here. I have clementines, grapefruits, and oranges there. And I have my chicken, which, as you can see, is nice and grilled and charred, and it's super juicy because it cooks for such a short time. So I almost stack it up, and I'm going to just hack it into really kind of informal strips here and put that on top of the salad as well. It's just so fresh. You've got the charred grilled chicken, and you've got juicy grapefruits, and I put some pomegranate seeds on there as well. And then what I always like to do at the end is I like to take some fresh mint, and we're at the tail end of pomegranate season, by the way. So these are brand new scissors that are not open yet, so I'm going to use another. And I just take some mint from our little herb garden and just snip it straight onto the top of the salad here. I'm going to do the dressing last because I just don't like my salads to get soggy. And sometimes I let people dress the salads themselves. And then, I like to always put some fresh cracked salt and pepper on top of my salad. This is my unicorn pepper grinder, which is my favorite. You can get it on Amazon. It has a chamber here that you just fill like this instead of having to open the top, and it grinds it's super adjustable. And I also have a unicorn salt grinder. So I really like to use those a lot. And then sometimes, again, I'll just sprinkle a little more sumac on the top. And then almost there. Give me one more second.
Bam. Look at that.
Now I'm going to take the dressing, and I'm just going to pour a little bit of the dressing on top of the salad here. And that is it. That is lunch. That is dinner. That's a picnic lunch. You can, eat it. It stays crisp and beautiful. Got all the colors there. It's super, super delicious. And yeah, so that is basically, that's my salad. And I'm going to also crack open a little Israeli wine here. This is some Blue Sea from Covenant, which is a great local wine that I absolutely adore. We have amazing wines here too. I know, Marc, you tried them, and Israel has a really well-developed wine industry for such a young country. So that's another great thing. And that's a way to support Israel from the States. If you want, you can buy a lot of incredible Israeli wines in the United States.
And then we also had the little shots of what the Rocky, what is it called?
Arak.
Arak,
yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The Arak.
So good.
I think we finished most of the evenings off with the Arak. Yes, we did. We tried a lot of different ones. It was absolutely amazing. Well, this was beautiful, Adeena. That dish is making me very hungry, and not only hungry, but missing Israel. And I love that I went and got my mint at Fairway, and you got your mint from your herb garden. I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
Well,
the subtle differences.
Everyone knows that Jay and I have an open door policy here. We love when people knock on our door. It's one of the nicest things about Israeli culture is the spontaneity of entertaining. Something that I learned here is that you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be perfectly neat. Everything doesn't have to be done when people arrive. It doesn't have to be complete. And, you can just, people can pop in, you can make a salad like this. You could make some hummus from canned hummus, or you might have something in the fridge. It's about connecting with people and having an open home. And that's one of the things that I always joke that when I lived in New York, spontaneity was scheduled in 15-minute increments 2 weeks in advance. And in Israel, it truly is, people knock on the door. I mean, not right now because of COVID, but I'm always ready for someone to pop in. I have some iced coffee, some cold brew, some almond milk, some salads, some fresh bread, a spread or two. And that's all you really need. It's something that I love about the culture here. And I hope that everyone gets to come experience it again or for the first time really soon.
I love it. Thank you both so much. This has been so much fun. It's obviously made me incredibly hungry. I'm going to have to make more dishes now for dinner. And a huge thanks to the Israeli Consulate of New York for setting this up in collaboration with Jews of New York. This has been a really awesome look into two different kitchens from some people that I truly adore.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great to see both of you. Mwah.
And so good to see you guys. You guys are great. Thank you so much.
All right, next
people
in person. We'll see you all.
Bye. Take care.